And we are live. We are back. Welcome, everybody, to episode 13 of the Modern Day Alchemists. I'm Joseph MoJoe McCarthy, and as always, pleased to be here with my dear friends, Kristen Brown and D. Grant Smith, two beautiful people, published authors, and brilliant souls who are plugged in to their selves and to their world. And I always learn something wonderful from their mouths and from their heart. And so I can't wait to share this hour with you. Thank you so much, both of you, for spending this hour with me.
Thanks, MoJoe. We love being here.
Yes, we do.
All right. Well, that's a win, win, win all the way around. Before we jump into today's topic, which I'm so excited about, and as you guys both know from my back channel texting to you guys, that there have been synchronicity upon synchronicity confirming our topic for today, which doesn't surprise me. As I was telling D. Grant before we went live, I know there's this part of our brain that once we notice something, then we notice all of those things, the reticular activating system. But when we choose a topic and then all the stuff comes in after it, like this morning, I open up my Mind Valley app to choose a meditation, and the one that comes up at random is the title of our topic, Let Go and Let God. So I take that all as a good sign. So yeah. But before we jump into that, with Kristen and D. Grant, I would like you to both take a moment to introduce yourself to those who have not met you before and just say a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what you are up to today. We'll start with Kristen.
Oh, I was going to say D. You start with me.
Sorry, that's never going to work, Kristen.
Okay, girls first.
Yeah.
See, this is what happens when you're a gentleman. All right. So my name is Kristen Brown. I am an international #1 best-selling author. Joseph always wants me to point that out with my book, The Recovering People Pleaser, a spiritual guide to reclaim your true worth and attract the love you deserve. I help people to reset their energetic vibration by discovering limiting beliefs and blocks that are in their subconscious. I help them pull those forward for healing so that they can change trajectory and have an entirely different experience of life.
Is that all?
That's it. And our mama.
That is pretty dang awesome. All right. Hello, Little Iodine. Thank you for checking in, tuning in. It's great to have you here in the chat. All right. I'm going to switch over to D. Grant. D. Grant, introduce yourself to the audience for those who have never met you before.
I'm D. I'm your friend. And these two people are my soul siblings, and I'm so happy and grateful to get to be here and talk about what we're going to talk about. In terms of where I'm from, I'm in Texas. Take your finger, point it in the middle of the state. You'll probably hit me. At least that's what I say. Because we're like, where's Abilene at? Well, just point in the middle of the state. There it is. There you go. You got it. You hit it. You got me. Felt it. What do? I help people grow into the best version of themselves by changing the way that they look at their story and seeing the power of the stories that we tell ourselves about who we are, who other people are, who and what God is, and who and what life is. And when we recognize that when we rewrite the story inside of us, we're actually reconfiguring our inner garden. There's a garden up here. There's a garden in our hearts. There's a garden in our spirits. All that stuff changes. Life happens and grows, and it's beautiful.
So good, so good. See, now those who are tuned in, you understand why I love this hour as much as any hour of my week. And so just for those who don't know, we've done this Modern Day Alchemists series, the three of us with some other guests peppered in. Yes, Kristen, time out.
Who are you, MoJoe?
Yeah, for real, dude.
Come on now.
Oh, yeah. I am your host, Joseph MoJoe McCarthy. I am what I like to call a playful polymath, which just means that I'm a dabbler. I call myself a daring dabbler. I try a little of everything. I used to be called Renaissance man or Jack of all trades. I'm not going to say master of none because I'm going to master all of them in time. But I really love kind of the two key components I really love is helping people integrate their spiritual life into all of their life rather than it just being a component on the side, which has been my own personal journey as well. And so I have a lot of experience there. And also have spent a lot of time studying effective leadership. And I love to help leaders become more aware of their own emotional and spiritual intelligence so that they can become more empathetic and compassionate leaders. So that's me. And you can find me at that mojo.studio, which is right there next to my name. All
Hey,
right.
Joe.
Yep.
You know who else was a dabbler?
Who?
Leonardo da Vinci.
Okay. Well, there you go. I'm
I
in
say
good
that
company.
I say that because I do a bit of dabbling, but I appreciate your dabbling and I appreciate you owning it. There's so much in, especially the spiritual/business community, of how you got to nail down doing just one thing. And I love the fact that you're owning, like, I'm not really doing just one thing. I'm doing all the things because it's interesting to me and that's who I am. Dude, inspirational, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, there are specialists, and I applaud them, and there are generalists. I am one of them, and we need all of those folks to be who they are, which is really that's a good summary of what we do here. The three of us bring different perspectives. Hopefully, it's our intention, it's our hope, our prayer that we can help you, whoever you are tuning in, become the best you. Not to become a MoJoe or a D Grant or Kristen Brown or Oprah or Tony Robbins or anybody else who you might admire. And even those people will say, hey, we don't need two of me. There's no extra people in the world. So it's our hope that through our understanding, through our writing, through our talking, that we can inspire anybody and everybody to dig into who they are and bring out the best of that. And I hear a lot of people talk about, being their best self. I think best is kind of the wrong word because best kind of indicates you've arrived. And this is an infinite climb that we're all on. We all have progress that we can make. And so I'm really digging in and telling people all the time, make progress. Progress is what you're after. Progress is what you want, not perfection. Perfection is elusive. Nobody even really knows what that means. So pursue progress and all of the rest will follow in. That's one of my many mantras. As you all know, I'm never short on a pithy phrase. so here we go. Well, today we're digging into this idea of surrender or allowing. I hear this phrase, and I've heard it actually for a long time, let go and let God. And yet very few people really talk about what does that look like? What does that mean? How do you do that? Sounds great, like any bumper sticker. Sounds really interesting.
Right.
But bumper stickers never change anybody's life. So it's really a matter of how do we implement that? And I love this particular group, the three of us, because we all have a different perspective on what that means for us. And I think by sharing our own journey, what that means to us philosophically and also in our practice, maybe inspire others to try that, to find a way for them to find their way to let go and to let God. And before we jump into too deep, one of the things that came to mind recently, I was in this conversation this week, and somebody was talking about flow. And flow comes up a lot. People really want to be in the flow, right? And it came to mind that flow requires both input and output. And the picture that I love is in Israel, there's these two seas on the same river. The River Jordan comes from the north to the south in Israel. And this river flows into the northern sea called the Sea of Galilee. And it's gorgeous. It's like a retreat center. People go there, they vacation there. It's lush. It's like the place to go to get refreshed. Then the river comes out of the Sea of Galilee, River Jordan, and goes down just a few miles further south, and it goes into the Dead Sea. Well, the Dead Sea is like barren. It's nasty. The water's toxic. You can float on top of the water without a raft because it's just stagnant. It's gross, right? In fact, if you stay in the water too long, it'll actually bleach your skin. Same river feeds both of these seas. What's the difference? The Dead Sea has no outlet. The water flows in, it doesn't flow out. So it sits there, it gets stagnant, it gets toxic. And I think such a great natural metaphor for what does it mean to flow. We all think we want to get in flow, but I think my misperception is flow means it's all coming to me. No, really the word is it's coming through me. And if I don't have an outlet, if I don't have a place for it to go, no matter how good it is, just like that Dead Sea, what could be beautiful and lush will turn out to be stagnant and nasty inside of me if I don't have an output. And so the two words that I really tuned in these days lately is consumer and creator. And there is opportunities for us to do both, but the easy thing is to be a consumer, and we can spend so much time and energy and effort being distracted, being consumers. And you're looking at three creators here, and even that's still it takes intention to have an outflow of all of the inputs so that it really is a flow. I mean, you ingest food and you don't let it go through your system, you got a problem, right? It has to go out as well, and that's the way we're built. So That's a little bit off topic, but I think it does lead into the topic we're talking about, letting go, because there is that natural tendency to want to hang on and to hold and to hoard, which turns out to be really not for our best interest. Even if it was when it came in, even if it was delicious, it was nutritious. If it sits there for too long, it's going to cause all sorts of dis-ease or disease, depending on how you want to say that. So that was a mouthful, and you can tell I've got a lot of stuff percolating inside my head, and I love this topic. But let's go in reverse order. Let's go to you, D. And what do you think about when you think about let go and let God? What does that mean to you, and how have you seen that play out in your own life, for better or for worse?
Wow, those are big questions. I'll be super honest with you guys. I'm still learning about letting go, and I'm still learning from experience and learning from practice and learning from God kind of knocking on my door just about every day going, you gonna surrender to me, dude, or are you gonna keep trying to make it happen? And I think that part of this is my own experience. Maybe this relates to you guys that are listening, and to you, Joe, and you, Kristen, as well. There's so much in our personal growth, personal development, spiritual journeys that thanks for that, Joe. It's growthfarming.com. The growth farmer is going to go somewhere. I have no idea where that's going to go to.
Thank you. I was just guessing.
There's so much in our communities that talk about how the universe is mental. I keep seeing that in all these spiritual things. The universe is mental, and you've got to be thinking. You got to be thinking in alignment with the universe. And so here's what I've done. I've gotten super heady and spent so much of my time in my life trying to figure it all out up here. Even while I'm telling myself that I'm not trying to figure it out, I'm still trying to figure it out. It's like an unconscious pattern. And I'm just all over the place, like psychoanalyzing everything and trying to see into everything.
Yeah.
And I understand now why I've gotten really, really tired pretty easily. And it's like 6 or 7 o'clock at night. And I'm like, I'm ready to go to bed. Screw this crap. And I think it's because my mental engine has been firing on all cylinders and then creating new cylinders so I can fire more all day long. And then even while I'm sleeping, I'm still putting stuff into my head, or I used to. I've broken that pattern, thank God. But like the letting go and the letting God is in a way, it's the surrender of the ego, because the ego, I've had some beautiful spiritual experiences today, actually, about joining my ego and my higher self and me into one cohesive unit, instead of it being this, like, I've got to just listen to this side, but this other side's trying to get my attention. And it's a process, but instead of me spending so much time in my head, the letting go and letting God part is, I learned this surrender technique yesterday, and this is what I'm doing, and I'll just share it with you. It's the stuff that's weighing you down. I've got some pretty big stuff that's been weighing me down for several months, and it's coming to a head right today, actually. And if some things don't shift around and change, there's actually a lot of stuff that's really up in the air for me about some different things. And the same sort of thing happened to me in December, and it scared the crap out of me. Like, I was in panic mode. It was terrible. And I don't feel that way anymore, because even though actually it's worse now than it was in December, there's this peace. And part of the letting go and letting God is getting out of your own way and just trusting that, there's stuff that I can't control. And for me, I've done everything I possibly can and then some, except surrender the stuff that I keep trying to fix on my own. And I think that sometimes the surrender is really like God actually, in a way, making us go through stuff that really sucks and is really difficult, and things not working out for us at all, just so we can get to this place where it's like, dude, are you seriously done? I'm ready for you to be done. You keep telling me you're done, but you need to actually be done, because when you're done and you actually will take all the stuff that's in your head and say, This is what I've been holding on to, and it sucks. I surrender. If you'll take all the stuff that's in your heart that's causing you all these emotions and all these pain and all this stress and all this difficulty, and then for me, and you too probably, all the stuff that's in your guts, because our body's where we hold on to the stress and the tension and stuff, and especially when it comes to anything involving relationships or money or business or career or whatever, it's in our guts. So I'm reaching down into my guts and pulling it out and holding it in front of me and saying, I don't know what to do with this crap. I can't do anymore. Please, I surrender. And doing this over and over and over again, dude, my energy has shifted dramatically. I went through like a 180 complete epiphany highlight reel, just awesomeness in a matter of an hour and a half yesterday after doing this process. And then after I surrendered, I gained more clarity about what was actually going on in me the entire time. And it wasn't anything outside of me. I can point the finger out there, but it was all going on inside of me. And I had to take responsibility for it. And I'm still taking responsibility for it. Ho'oponopono is actually one of the, Kristen and I had a conversation last night and also earlier today about energy clearing. Ho'oponopono is energy clearing without having to do a really long, difficult meditative process. I mean, all of the, not difficult, long, intense meditative process. Those are important. I'm not trying to take away from them. But bringing something to mind, this has caused me all kinds of emotional pain. This has caused me to worry and doubt and fear and be in panic mode. And I can't seem to change it. Okay, I'm sorry for whatever it is that is going on inside of me that I can't see and I don't understand, or I received and picked up or believed or perceived from somewhere else. Please forgive me, clean and clear it out of me. Replace it with divine love, harmony, and peace, abundance, success, whatever you want. Thank you for cleaning and clearing it out. Thank you for restoring me. Thank you for healing me. Thank you that this isn't shit that I have to deal with anymore. I love you. That's what I think about surrendering, letting go, and letting God.
Is that all? Right.
Well, I took a page out of your playbook, homeboy. You had a lot to say to lead up to it. So if you're gonna, don't be the pot calling the kettle black.
Oh, I will every time, and you can call me right back on it. I love it. I'm just giving you a hard time because I love the fact that we have these discussions. It's not fluff, baby. This it's real life, and you talk about exactly what's going on in your life right now. I think there's nothing more powerful than that personal share, the personal testimony, and the what you're learning along the way. So thank you, D. Grant, for sharing it in depth. I appreciate that a ton. For those who have never heard of Ho'oponopono, D. Grant, would you give them a brief glimpse and understanding of what Ho'oponopono and what that's about?
So it's an ancient Hawaiian prayer. It's about cleaning and clearing your consciousness and your energy field. And the simplest way to look at it is everything that we think is outside of us is actually a reflection of something that's going on inside of us. It's all consciousness. And so what we're cleaning and clearing when we're saying these four phrases is we're cleaning and clearing our perception of it and our understanding of anything that's happened, because all situations are neutral. It's what we perceive, what we interpret. I always do this with my glasses. The lens that we perceive everything through becomes a belief and a story inside of us. And then whatever that belief in that story is, those people, that thing, that situation, whatever it is going to continue to reflect back to us what it is that we believe. So what Ho'oponopono does is the I'm sorry is taking responsibility part. The please forgive me is the cleaning and clearing part. The thank you is the appreciation for the work being done, and the I love you ties it all together. And so when you practice this, you don't just say it once, you do it internally. This isn't something you say to somebody else, even if you're pissed off at them or even if they're doing something to you that doesn't feel good. I'll be super honest. This one practice transformed the relationship with my former wife and I in a matter of a couple months. I just would think of her and I wouldn't think too hard, and I didn't do this for too long. But for maybe 5 minutes, I just say, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And then I went on about my day. And I, at that point in time, never wanted to see her again. 2 weeks ago, I was on my way to a birthday party, and I dropped Peaches off at her house and met her husband. Never met the dude before. Super cool guy, think he's awesome. That was not possible a year and a half ago. So when we're talking about inner healing, God does the invisible work under the soil in our hearts and our minds. That's another part of the letting go, letting God thing. Like, you're saying this phrase, you're doing some conscious work, but for the most part, God's doing all the work on the inside of you.
Sweet. I'm getting a little bit of jitters in the feed. Is that coming from my end or your end? Can you guys tell?
I don't have anything.
I don't have anything.
Okay, very good. Well, super good, Degrant. Thanks so much for that. And it's amazing to me. I only learned about Ho'oponopono within the last year, and those 4 simple phrases, which are really things I was taught when I was a kid, just didn't realize it was a practice. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you, and how transformative that is. And you said in certain words, there's nothing you have to do, but however, just the practice is something that we can do. The letting go is something that we can do, and that's our effort. And what happens after that, the outcomes, that's in God's love, that illustration, and how personal that was. All right, Kristen, let's hear from you. Let go, let God. I hear you. This is really important, something you fully believe in. Share from your perspective, what does let go, let God mean to you?
Thank you, MoJoe. Well, at first you are getting a little glitchy on your end. No, D isn't, but you're getting a little glitchy. So just FYI. This is one of my favorite topics. I love surrender.
Joe.
We have a delay, I think, as well. And now you're frozen. Okay, you're back. Can you hear me?
All right. You just go on without me. I'll do some adjusting. Yeah, you just keep going.
Okay. All right. So surrender is one of my favorite topics, and I believe it is one of the highest, most serving spiritual practices that we can possibly have. But in order for somebody to surrender, there's a couple things that need to happen first, because it's not that easy. Because, well, I'm not going to put that on you. For me, it's not that easy. And a lot of times it's not for other people, because this has to do with our desire to control. As human beings, we want to control because we want to be in an environment that is familiar, and because we have this innate desire to feel safe. So we want to control all the pieces in our lives all the time. And that just makes us feel like we know exactly what's coming down the pike and how we're going to be able to handle it. The problem is that life is not like that. We get thrown curveballs left and right. Things happen, things come up, and then we're just thrown for a loop, and we're searching. The brain is now searching for a solution, and it's scanning. And I call it like radar, scanning the environment for a solution, waiting for the right answer to come up, yet there isn't one. And I've been in many situations like this where I was just like, I really don't know what to do. I've done everything I humanly know. My intelligence knows how to do, and I'm not getting anywhere with this. So fast forward to a particular spot in my life where I was really my tsunami most people know about. And that was in that moment where things were really bad. And I completely surrendered to God. Actually, the first thing I did was remembered God. I was like, wait a minute, there is this source, this energy, this thing, this quantum field. And I believe that's in my last book, my first book. If I'm not going to grab it, it's up there. But in my first book, the very first chapter is connecting with your divinity, meaning your God, your source, your universe, whatever your spirituality believes, however you think your higher power is. And I put that's the only chapter I purposely put in that place. All the rest of the chapters, I just picked them up off the floor, and however they landed, I put them in the book. But that one was the most important, because I believe in order to surrender, we have to be able to have some type of understanding of who we are first as spiritual beings. We are spirit in earth suits, and we are part of the collective consciousness. We are part of infinite intelligence. We are part of the quantum field. So in our little tiny, I call us teeny tiny baby humans, because we have this little teeny tiny thinking brain that is literally a speck that you can't even see amidst the infinite intelligence of God / universe, or whatever you call it. So we're trying to solve this problem that's beyond us from this tiny speck. And when we call in spirit, when we say, God, I need help, I don't know what to do, we can call in spirit, and that information could be coming to us, or it could be aligning the right people and things in our lives, but yet we still think we need to solve. So we're going to thwart the information that's coming to us. Okay, so we can mess it up. I call it muddying the waters. We can muddy the waters of what's trying to happen for us. So spiritual surrender means to me is asking for help, giving it up to God, and knowing, this is the key point, and knowing that it is solved, because the quantum field is infinite possibilities. There is a spiritual answer to every problem, but we don't know that answer because we're coming from one teeny tiny human baby brain. Okay. And we think the same thoughts 90% of the time, every single day. There's only 10% of thoughts that we don't rethink. And those are choices that we make, like which way we're driving somewhere, the food we're going to eat today. So that 90% of our thinking is on repeat all the time. We're just going to, we're going to repeat. We can't sometimes solve certain problems from the same level of thinking and vibrating, energetically being, that the problems were created. So when I get myself into that place, I understand, here's the deal. God knows better than I do, period. Hands down. I'm a teeny tiny baby human. That's all I know. But not only do I give things up, and I will feel a release. If I don't feel the relief, then I know I have not fully surrendered. And I'll practice until I feel like I've truly given it up. I've gotten into my faith side. I've moved out of my fear and into my faith, because that's the only two things that we can ever be in, is this or this. I move into my faith side, be sure I give it up. But then there's a second piece to this. And this is following the divine guidance that comes. Because once again, as humans, we want to control. So we may give it up. The answers could be coming, but then we go, well, I don't like that answer. Or, yeah, but I did that 6 months ago and it didn't work. Or we add our own English into it somehow, and that's again is muddying the waters. So to me, in summary, surrender is not only taking the problem that we have and giving it up to the universe and saying, please handle this for me, but it is also saying, make the next best step very prevalent to me. Even it's only this big, I want to feel it in my spirit, in my soul, in my intuition, so that I know to follow it. Because in the times that there's only one time that stands out as the biggest and greatest thing, I had to completely surrender. I was about to be homeless. I had no income. I had 3 children in tow, nowhere to live. The list goes on. And I surrendered. And things just went boom, 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 boom. And I showed up, though. I had to show up to making decisions and making choices, but it was through following the divine guidance.
That's beautiful. I love that. I've heard the story before. I can never get enough of it, and to explain that, because it's very personal. It's very practical. And there is this divine dance, I call it, between our free will and God's providence. And I can't fully understand it, nor can I fully explain it, and I don't have to defend it. But the truth is, God has given us the ability to choose, right? And we can choose to hang on to stuff. We can choose to protect things. We can choose to ignore that guidance that you're talking about, or through an act of surrender or trust, whatever word you want to put there, when that intuition, when that inspiration, when that guidance comes, which we ask for generally when we're helpless, because otherwise we want to take care of ourselves, but out of believing, right, that somebody with the big S knows way more about what's going on and how to handle it than I do, and to trust that even though I don't see the full path, I don't even see the finish line, that inspiration to take that next right step is. And I think I often got paralyzed in my own journey as taking that next step, because I thought, well, what if I went the wrong direction? What if I didn't hear correctly? What if, and I talked myself things until I forget who it was, but maybe a mentor of mine, who said, well, guess what, Joe, aren't permanent, right? You take the next right step, and if it turns out you got it wrong, God's not surprised. And he's not, suddenly says, oh, I can't really work anything out for you because you took a step in the wrong direction. No, he's all about redemption and restoration and reconciliation anyway. The steps that I take, if for some reason I got it all wrong or did it all wrong, it's not permanent, right? All things can work together for our good. This is a promise, a biblical promise, by the way, that God will work all things together for our good, even when I make mistakes, but there really is this divine dance between my been given the choices I make, and I see where those take me sometimes, and usually not really great outcomes because of my limited understanding. That's not putting myself down. That's just, I only know what I know. But if I have an opportunity where I can actually tap into infinite intelligence, that's not just intelligence, but it's loving intelligence. It wants what's best for me. Then it's a matter of trust. If I get that nudge, I should go this way or let this go or don't do this or do that. It's not an imposition. It's an invitation to say, hey, you, Joe. Hey, Joe, I guess what? I can see the future. In fact, I've been there. So take this step left. Trust me, it's all going to work out. Maybe not immediately, but it's going to work out. And that's a matter of surrendering as Kristen said, surrendering my control into the belief that I am guided and loved and protected, something much greater than I could ever understand. So that's my take on that. One of the things I wanted to add to this conversation is meditation. Now, I don't want to make this whole thing about meditation, but I know that in my own practice, I'd love to hear from you two as well. I grew up with a lot of prayer, but meditation was kind of a Eastern religion type of word and had some negative where I was growing up. So I kind of shied away from it. Ironically, even though is actually meditation and prayer is used throughout the Bible, go figure. So when I finally got into this openness and willingness to say, well, if there are so many benefits to meditation, rather than going down the spiritual route, I'll just get into what's meditation, which is really about understanding your breath and using some tapping techniques and stuff to really be present with who I am. Well, it turns out, even though I was taking the spirituality out of the meditation practice, it became a very spiritual, because in that presentness, that's where I actually found myself tuned to that voice that Kristen was talking about, that connection with divine intelligence, with divine love, where suddenly things that had been involved, the distractions and the responsibilities of my life, when I got still, when I got quiet, when I was just thinking about my breathing or my pulse, or just feeling the sense of security that I'm in the hands of a loving God, then start flooding in. And it wasn't like I was generating them. I was just a conduit for them. And so it's amazing, it's almost counterintuitive to our human nature to say that the best thing to do is to let go and surrender, because that's simple. But quite honestly, the truth is we're all vulnerable all the time. It's just whether or not we're willing to admit it, and are we going to try to solve all of our own issues and get ourselves out of our own messes, or ask for help from someone who knows us best and loves us. All right, so I'm going to pass that off to D. Grant. I know you've talked a lot just with me practices of being still and silent. So take it from there, D.
Okay. Meditation, like you said, Joe, when I was growing up, it was something that was very frowned upon in my religious communities, and I think in my family too. I don't remember exactly specifics, but I remember, I think, asking one of my parents, like, what is this meditation thing, and how come we don't do it in church or whatever? And the feedback that was like, oh, that's what those other people do in these other parts of the world, and we don't do that kind of stuff here. And I was like, So then, I think I created a belief about that, or a story about it, that said like, oh, I don't know if I thought it was witchcraft necessarily, or if I thought it was like some sort of just evil religion, but I didn't go down that road for a long time. But then something started pulling me towards it, and I started seeing meditation books everywhere, and I got kind of curious. And I don't know about you guys, if you've ever not done meditation your entire life, and then you decide, I'm going to learn how to do this by buying a book, bad idea. Because similar to other things that involve you actually being able to have an experience to know how to do it, like just about anything that's physical, you're not going to necessarily learn how to play tennis by reading a tennis book or boxing or anything else. My personal opinion, not shared by all. Anyhow, I couldn't get into meditation from reading a book. I had to do meditation with people and have an experience and get some guidance on it. But basically, meditation is one of the most simple things in the world. And actually, here's the thing, all of us are actually meditating all the time, whether we realize it or not. Because have you ever just spent 2 seconds or 2 breaths or even just 1 breath not thinking about anything? Congratulations, my friend. You just meditated. That's all it is. Meditation is, I think, from a spiritual perspective, it is to know. I think that's what the meaning of it is. But you're connecting with your breath and you're connecting with life, because breath is life. Now, you can do guided meditations. That's actually how I got started. And I learned how to do deep breathing, how to hold my breath at the top of the breath, how to slowly breathe it out, how to imagine stuff while I'm in meditation. I have taught and do teach a little bit of meditation, but really, like, here's what's awesome about meditation. There's no way you can get it wrong. I mean, okay, let me sidetrack that. It would be really difficult maybe to meditate while you're listening to, I don't know, like Viking death metal or something. But just because gaining tranquility while you're listening to Amon Amarth, and that is a Viking death metal band, it's just harder that way. Not necessarily you're doing it wrong, but like you're going to have a harder time surrendering and letting go and connecting with your divine self, or at least I would. But there's no really way you can do it wrong. It's a matter of presence. It's a matter of stillness. It's a matter of being. One of the difficulties that I had with meditation, and sometimes I still have this, part of the overthinking mind is my mind is always thinking of the next 3 steps ahead. And I'm in the practice and process of teaching myself, no, dude, be here in this moment. This is the only moment that exists, and this is the only moment that matters. And like Kristen references Joe Dispenza a lot. Here's my reference for him: breaking the habit of being yourself. Because so much of the stuff that we do, getting in our own way, all the beautiful things that both you guys have talked about, I've taken tons of notes here. It's us getting in our own way because we're in these patterns of doing things that we've always done. And something that Kristen and I talk about, I think we've talked about with you too, Joe, following inspiration instead of following the mind that says, what's the next thing we're going to do? What's the next thing we're going to do? What's the next thing we're going to do? Like, that's a process. And a simple, like I say simple, taking 5 breaths before you do anything, there's meditation. Meditation, I think, can get put into this like category of like, oh, I don't have an hour and a half to spend, I can't meditate. Okay, dude, you got 5 breaths? Sure you do. Can you take a breath in and then breathe out and do that 8 times? Just notice how you feel. Connecting with your breath is connecting with life, and when you're connecting with life, you're connecting with God. And to me, that's the heart of meditation. It's also an avenue to open up your energy channels, because all of us are energy, and our energy channels, our chakras, that's our real connection with God, going up and down and up and down and up and down. And guess how we breathe? Up and down and up and down and up and down. So when we pause, we get still in the moment and we just breathe, we can actually free up energy so that we can more easily be able to let go and let God, instead of sort of letting go, but then really holding on and going back down the same rabbit trail again.
Absolutely. Beautiful, Deacon. Kristen, I see you taking notes there. You want to jump in?
Sure. I love meditation. Meditation is my favorite. So, okay, just for clarity for people that are listening, people might be going, how'd you make the jump from surrender to meditation? Like, where's that? How does this all blend together? So surrender is really letting go. It's not giving up, it's giving over. I think it's really important that we understand it's not like just giving up, it's giving over. However, I will tell you, the times that I've actually given up, things fell into place really, really fast. And we can't thwart this process. We what's the word I'm looking for? We can't cheat the system. We can't think that we can trick universe and go, oh, I give up universe, and then think it's going to happen because we're all energy, and it doesn't work that way. Universe knows. So with that being said, bringing in meditation into this, I was thinking one thing that meditation really is, what it helps us do is to calm the nervous system. And because a lot of times we are in our survival mode, and some people have been in survival mode for decades. Sometimes it's just from driving in traffic yesterday, right? So it's calming the nervous system. When we calm the nervous system, what we're doing is we're out of our fight, flight, or freeze response. We're out of that activated response that we are in. So we are in a space of where we actually can receive. We cannot receive, we cannot learn, and we cannot be creative in a state of survival, period. And that's Dr. Joe Dispenza. We cannot. So if we are at all in that state, we cannot, the other side of the brain doesn't work. Okay. All that is shut down because the blood is going to the limbs to save us, to get us away from the tiger or the Tyrannosaurus Rex or whatever it might be. So meditation, first and foremost, for me was a form of calming my nervous system. That is the number one reason why I started doing it 12 years ago. Actively doing it, because like we've been talking about, meditation is all kinds of things, which I'm going to share a couple of really easy things for people. So, but in calming my nervous system, that was my goal. What I noticed is that there was space between my thoughts, which means I wasn't, like I talked about earlier, in that active solving situation. I was calmer. And in that space between my thoughts, that's when I was able to receive creative ideas, possibilities of movement. And then I could process them through a calm system rather than a system that is just trying to make sure that I stay alive. So with that being said, to me, prayer is talking to God. Meditation is receiving, because we are actually clearing, I call it clearing a landing strip for God's information to land for us, which is typically what we call intuition. So I will say, Dee, I'm going to challenge you on this one. When you said nobody can meditate with Viking death metal, and I will tell you that
I didn't say no one. I said it would be really hard.
For some people, but that could even be a form of meditation, because listening can be a very, very high form of meditation. So to listen to something like that and just truly listen to it, like be one with it, people could meditate to that. So meditation has a lot of false stories told around. I did not know, to be honest with you guys, that there was religions that talked against meditation, which is interesting to me. I didn't even know that. I can see why now that you're saying it, but that was not in my world, so I didn't know about that. But meditation, again, is really all it is focused intention. That's all it is. It's focused intention. So I would love for people to get off the thought that it's supposed to be the Om position, sitting, crisscross applesauce, doing it a particular way with the rules or laws that somebody has dictated to you as how it's supposed to go. So when we look at it as focused intention, really all that means it's focusing on something for a considerable amount of time. And that could be our breath. That could be, I've done things where I was a nervous wreck and I was walking from the car to my house, and my just anxiety, my focused intention was, where are my feet? Crunch, 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 crunch on the gravel. That's what I heard. And I focused on that. By the time I got to the door, my anxiety was gone. And that is no joke, because I focused, intended, instead of being out here future tripping, I got really, really present. That's meditation. I've done it where I didn't have time to meditate on the way to work, which is when I was doing hair. At a 15-minute drive, I made sure that I didn't go main roads. I went neighborhood roads, and then I pointed out every beautiful tree I saw. I said, okay, I'm a nervous wreck. I can't be like this when I walk in the door. I said, I'm going to point out every beautiful tree. And just my focused intention of pointing out beautiful trees, by the time I showed up to work, my anxiety was gone. So these are called walking meditations, daylight meditations. Like, it doesn't have to be any particular way. And like Dee Grant was saying, 5 breaths, that's a meditation. And it's a place to start. And those are 5 breaths of focused intention and presence that you didn't have 5 minutes ago, that you didn't have an hour ago. So no matter what you feed to it, like a bunch of pennies in a jar eventually fills a jar up. You got $300. We've done that many times, right? You're putting pennies in the jar. They do add up. The key is to be graceful with yourself, be forgiving of yourself, be understanding, be compassionate. There's times I sit down in meditation in 20 seconds, I'm in some weird theta brainwave quantum field. There's other times that I'm like, I cannot do this today. It doesn't matter. When I hear myself saying that, I say, yes, you can. You got 10 seconds, 10 breaths, Kristen. That's all you got to do. And I'm very gentle with myself. So it's part of the whole process is knowing that you're a human being and all you're trying to do, or all that would be serving and helpful, is to create some space in your brain to calm down your nervous system so that you can really commune with God. So when you do surrender and you do let go, because that part when I was saying I completely surrendered to God and everything fell into place, I was doing deep breathing exercises for like an hour straight, several times a day, because I was a nervous wreck. So it wasn't like I surrendered and then walked around like this. I surrendered and got myself calm. And that's when things fell into place.
Well put, as usual. And connection even clearer between letting go, letting God, and meditation. Teachers and mentors, gurus that I listen to often is Brendan Burchard, really brilliant guy who grounds everything that he teaches in a lot of science and study. And one of his practices is what he calls a release meditation. And he says he does it several times throughout the day. In fact, he tries to do it an hour of the day. And he says it's not just a practice for practice sake, but he said he actually, and I'm going to give my explanation to what Brendan says, but what I got from what he said was that there are so many demands, so many inputs, so many distractions within an hour of the day, especially at his level of performance, that if he back out of all of the doing, right, and just be for a few minutes, he says he'll walk out of his office, he'll go outside, he'll go on a walk, or he'll just push back from the computer, close the laptop, and do just a few minutes. What he calls, and he says it's very simple. He just thinks about nothing but the word release, and he repeats for 5 or 10 minutes, and it resets. As I think the words he used, resets all of the stimulus and all the stuff that's going on. It just becomes overwhelming. I got to tell you, I totally get that. So what I did is I took that idea of the release meditation and I combined it with the idea of breathing, because breathing is essential, right? It's the very of the fact that we're alive and we're having these conversations. And I think there's something about this concept of inhale and exhale. This goes way back to the very beginning of this discussion today, that there has to be inputs and outputs. It's the way we're designed. And so I've told you guys this before, and I'll share it again. I put together a blog a while ago about the inhale. I called it Breathe Like You Mean It. And here's what I wrote. Fundamentally, we're all breathers. I know, go ahead, call me Captain Obvious. With that in mind, I encourage you to set aside some time each day to give breathing your full attention. So 6 seconds in, 6 seconds out. And on the inhale, repeat the word receive, receive, receive 6 times. And then on the exhale, repeat the word release, release 6 times. And as you repeat the cycle, start adding specifics to your thoughts. And I just listed some, such as on the receive side, love, health, clarity, forgive, wisdom, provision. And then on the release fear, bitterness, negativity, toxicity, confusion, insecurity. Breathe in and receive empathy, understanding, peace, humility, guidance. And then as you release that exhale, release doubt, shame, unworthiness, judgment, cynicism. In and out, deeply and intentionally renewing and rejuvenating your body, your spirit. Adjust the words according to your own insights, desires, needs, and guidance from the Creator, the source, the giver of all true goodness, is in you and for you and delights in you. So yeah, I've really put it down just to 2 things. Inhale grace, exhale, inhale grace, exhale gratitude, and repeat. Keep in mind that this is not an imposition, it's an invitation to simply abide. I love that word, abide. Whatever you do, not just this breathing exercise, do it with childlike wonder, joyful anticipation. See what happens. That's my
So
receive and release meditate.
standing O for Joe on that one. And for the way you described meditation.
Release.
That was badass.
Yeah, and it's taken all of the panic and fear about meditation out of it for me when it's just receive, release, and all the things that I said about receive. I know who the source of that is, and so I'm really connecting with God anyway. And the fears and the pride and the anxiety and all the stuff that convolutes my nervous system and helps me make really terrible decisions. So it's very helpful, and it really does tie meditation then to surrender and allowing God to lead us and to connect with them. Just 5 minutes. It's amazing how fast this time goes. So grateful for all the people that tuned in and added comments throughout this session. And we will do this again next Friday at 2:00 p.m. Pacific, which will be another great episode. I don't know what it's going to be about. We'll be guided between now and then for sure. So thank you to everyone. Again, Kristen, let people know how they would connect with you outside of this space.
Well, if anybody's interested in, excuse me, connecting with me, you can find me on YouTube at Kristen Brown. All you have to type in is at Kristen Brown in the search bar. You will find me. Also, you can just go to my website, which is right there, kristenbrown.org. And I have a lot of freebies over there, coaching opportunities, programs, my book, everything, all my socials you can find over there.
And D. Grant, how would people connect with you and what you're doing off this space?
I'm going to make it super easy. So, bothfarming.com is the place to get. I'm a storyteller and a story writer, and these two have read my stories and heard them. They'll change your life. So that's where I share my stories and make them available both in the digital format and in audiobook all at the same time. Who else, author-wise, is giving you an audiobook and the digital version at the same time? Only this guy, because I love you. Anyhow, that's where you can get my stuff and connect with me. But I'm also at the place where I just dropped into the comments. I appreciate Kristen talking about YouTube. That's where I'm at too. So that's how you can follow me on YouTube. And before I sign off, and I'm going to just kind of speak on behalf of all three of us, if that's okay. Thank you guys for being here. This is Friday. It was 4 p.m. Central Time where I live for these two in the West Coast parts of the world, and later in the further you go east. But the simple fact that it's Friday, and Zena, you spent part of your day with us. Little Iodine, you spent part of your day with us. Strong Body, Strong Soul, you spent part of your day with us. Jim Bannon, all of you guys, like the fact that you spent part of your day with us, listening to us, and not only that, but like engaging and being a part of this conversation, that means the world to me. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate you.
Right at the hour. I know my connections hasn't been super strong. Hopefully it didn't distract from this conversation, which has been very helpful to me. I love the fact that we have this order to share something with the world, and I get as much out of it or more than I suppose anybody. But it really is. I hope you tuning in get the sense that D. Grant, Kristen, and I we have much, and so freely we have received, freely we want to give back to anyone who is seeking and trying to figure out how to navigate through this world. It's not easy. Life is challenging, and I think that's by design, because it's through the challenges that we learn, we grow. I've learned to reframe resistance in my life as resistance training, because that's how muscles are built, right? It's through that pushing past, through, over, under, around these perceived barriers or limits in our lives that we find out truly are what we're really made of. So it's our intention on behalf of Dion that all of you who've tuned in either live or after the fact have received something of value that you can take with you. And last thing before we sign off, one of my favorite, this comes from Robin Sharma, who says, inspiration without implementation is delusion. Inspiration without implementation is delusion. And so just his words, it may help make you think about these things. You still got to take action, right? There's still that invitation to do something. So God's here. He's very willing and able. He, she, however you describe God, is very willing and able to help in not just in our times of trouble, but but it also is a matter of us listening and taking steps, those next inspired steps of right action. So until next time, the modern day alchemists are going to sign off and give you peace, love, and blessings from here next time. Bless you all.
Thanks, guys.